I'm in a company, I want to hire 3 people, but I don't want them to be on my books.
Yep. What we can offer is, as you said, we now have our own manpower license. So I know there is other businesses out there who use a third party, whereas we're actually doing this in-house. So what we can offer is, depending on their current visa, depending on what they actually need, we can supply visas. We can supply work permits. We also supply payroll, and we all do it in-house. So timeline-wise, as I said, depends. Work permit, if all they need, should take 48 to 72 hours.
Hey there, listeners. Can you believe it? We're already on season 4 of the Alchemy Uncensored podcast. Before we dive into today's episode, I've got one quick favor to ask. I'm sure anyone that listens to podcasts will know what I'm about to ask. But if you've been loving the journey so far, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode, especially as we keep leveling up this season. And while you're at it, why not leave us a review? Your feedback has been a huge part of what's gotten us to season 4, and it helps us keep bringing you the content you love. And of course, one more thing. If you're feeling extra generous, share this episode with a friend who'd love to hear it. Let's grow this amazing community together. And all right, that's it for now. So let's get straight into the show. Thank you. Welcome back to the Alchemy Uncensored podcast. It's incredible that we're already in our 4th season, and we're excited to continue bringing you honest conversations, fresh perspectives, and valuable insights from leaders across the UAE's finance and tax sector. I'm Conor McHugh, founder of Alchemy Search. And before we dive into today's conversation, we're excited to announce our partnership with Alaan, Middle East's leading corporate card and expense management platform. Alaan helps companies eliminate petty cash, reimbursements, and manual reconciliations by automating expense tracking, approvals, and accounting, so finance teams get more control and visibility without the manual work. Today's episode features Graham Halton, Alchemy's fractional recruitment manager. Graham specializes in providing fractional recruitment support to high-growth businesses and acting as a flexible and senior hiring partner for companies that need expertise without committing to a full-time role. He has helped organizations streamline their recruitment processes, build scalable talent strategies, and manage the demands of rapid expansion across the region. So, Graham, how are you?
I'm good. Good to be back.
So, Graham G, we'll refer to as G. Graham's been part of the team for a good few years. How many years now?
3.5.
Obviously, now you've stepped into the fractional role. Can you give the audience a high-level overview of the fractional solution?
Yeah. So fractional solutions, I suppose there is a lot of misconception about what actually is a fractional, and kind of the information doesn't seem to be out there. People have different opinions on what it is and how it actually works. So fractional position is basically, it's not full-time, but bringing someone in on a contract basis or as you need someone, and particularly within the finance space. So whether that's a finance tax person, treasury, a CFO, as you need them, you can bring them in.
It's a finite solution. One of the big reasons why we've went down this, different solution is that, we have such an oversupply of talent. There's so much good people in the UAE that are sat at home right now as we speak, having a coffee that could be adding a lot of value to companies. And also because in Dubai in particular, there's so many SMEs, so they sometimes have a situation where instead of hiring, a mid-level finance manager, 25K, 30K a month, you could get the expertise of someone whose value is maybe 80, 90, 100K. For that 25K. Mm-hmm. And that's working maybe 2 days a week, 3 days a week. It's going to be a growing area. Yeah. And I think to your point, the misconception is that it is such a buzzword. And don't get me wrong, I know we're probably one of the leaders on, marketing fractional.
Yes.
But the biggest challenge we've sort of seen is that, you have a lot of mid-level people they're out of work just saying they're now automatically fractional CFOs. I imagine irritating for senior people. So what we're trying to create as well for the audience is that we're trying to create fractional finance managers, fractional controllers. So it's not just if you're in finance, you just automatically get put under that umbrella. So yeah, share with us you've been doing it a few months. You've had a lot of conversations. Share some insights.
Yeah, I think the demand is there in the region for it. So I think what we've seen, speaking to candidates, speaking to clients is, they might have, as you said, a stage 2, stage 3 growth company where they have investors, but they don't have the budget for a full-time person. And this is where people who are out of work and actually want, I suppose, both flexibility in terms of being able to control their days, as well as, clients' budgets can be tight, so they can't afford someone on that full-time salary, as you said. So what I've seen, speaking to candidates is, yes, what you said earlier is people are that finance manager out of a role and give a CFO title, yet their experience doesn't line up with CFOs. But overall, I think there is an interest in it. There is a demand for it on both sides. I think there is a challenge in terms of understanding, how will it work for businesses in terms of, payrolls, in terms of visas, how will this actually operate? Yeah. But I think overall it's good. The market's there.
Talent is there. It's just it's marketed correctly. And then, for our listeners, for companies, for aspiring professionals, the only sticky point with it, which we see, is that the senior people who have golden visas, medical, they have all that stuff sorted. Mm-hmm. Would you believe they're actually an easier fit for companies than your junior mid-level professionals? And the reasons, again, for the listeners is that, the senior professionals who maybe have lost their job or just doing a consulting route, they have the golden visa. So that's visa covered off. They have medical, that's covered off. The only thing we need to deploy them is a
work permit.
Work permit, which is quite straightforward to get.
Yeah, normally takes 48 hours, max to 48, 72 hours. Apply for the work permit, they can start really
and they can
ASAP. Whereas the visa process, depending on if they're new to the region, that can take up to 3 weeks, getting the onboarding, getting everything. But for the golden visas or people who have their own businesses, it really is a case of plug and play.
So I think just sharing that. So for people who are looking for mid-level professionals, would you believe it actually probably costs you more initially because there is an upfront cost with the visas, the medical, but it does make them a little bit less attractive. But then we are starting to actually get a few mid-level professionals who are actually just doing fractional. So for us, if you're in that space, you've got your own visa, medical, all that covered, you're very attractive, to clients and also for our platform that we'll actually talk about a little bit later on. So again, just pushing that point again. So the people who are senior positions, we're going to have a platform which will have all these people. All it is a work permit. You agree the time. So let's just talk about a few of the instances where we've actually deployed some fractional people. Yep. So for listeners, there's many ways to skin this cat and there's different situations. So we're obviously not going to share names of the company, etc. But let's give a few examples of the engagements, what you've been working on.
The first example would be where senior finance professional, CFO, left the business and he had 2 weeks left on the notice. Now they have a large finance function. While they recruit the position full time, they need someone in the business to make sure that the year end is in order, to make sure the finance function is running properly. So in that scenario, we managed to deploy a CFO who had extremely relevant industry experience for 3 months for 2 to 3 days a week. So he's gone in, he's made sure the owner is happy with everything. He's basically full on as an intermediate option. While they look for a full-time person, he's gone in and he's taken over the finance function.
It's a bit of a stopgap. So, this example is, and this is a big thing in the UAE for people outside the region. I would say 70-80% of finance teams are super lean. Yeah. Where if someone leaves, to absorb that loss is quite a lot. While in bigger, more mature markets, if someone leaves, you can sort of share out the work a bit. So that's why I think a fractional option is going to get more and more popular once it gets, the knowledge. So what we did is we had an expert in the sort of, fintech space who could step in, plug and play, and by all accounts is doing a great job in there. People who are hiring, if someone's left your company, the recruitment process has gone upside down, there's been a counter offer. Yep. Now you've only got a week left and then you have to start the process all over again. This is where this sort of stopgap can come in. Yep. And then another example?
Another example is we had a business where they were growing very rapidly and I suppose they needed a bit of expertise to come in. They had a very lean finance team, as you said, kind of finance manager, a few accountants, and they needed someone to come in terms of give an overview of the business and then also being able to mentor the current finance team, being able to, I suppose, upskill them. And we managed to deploy someone in there.
Who was an industry expert as well.
Who's an industry expert. And he's gone in and initially was for maybe a week to kind of get an overview of the business. He went off, he did full research on it and he came back and now it's kind of a 2 days a week for the foreseeable and probably maybe reduced down if needed or it can be increased if needed as well. Yeah. So that's example 2 and I think they've got great benefit from it.
Especially founder-led businesses. Sometimes a lot of emotion attached to the company, numbers, everything like that. And it's, being told the reality of things as opposed to, what you need to hear sometimes.
Which can be difficult. Like it's an unbiased opinion because it can be difficult for maybe if they're an employee and they're in that position, if you bring in someone with that skill set on a unbiased third party, a fractional person coming in to give that advice, that it's
real.
Most likely, it's real. It's like they don't have any quarrels or exterior motives they need. They're just going to tell you exactly how it is.
One thing, especially in this market, especially when you've got younger, having someone more senior who doesn't really care about ruffling feathers is pretty important. As I think anyone that works in finance here will know that, due to some cultural nuances and challenges, sometimes there's a lot of yes men out there that, of course, due to, they're just going to tell you what you want to hear to keep you on side. So sometimes you need, it's just a senior person who doesn't care to give you the news. And then the last example, probably, this is probably more for mid-level positions, but we had a client that's doing a lot of hiring, and I guess this is more an interesting example, which probably a lot of our listeners aren't aware of, but let's talk through that one.
I suppose this business, they had a lot of projects going on, and the team found it difficult to focus on the different contracts they have, and the day-to-day, I suppose, running of the finance team was kind of lacking as a result because they're being stretched. So we managed to place a number of mid-level people to oversee, basically alleviate the pressure where kind of the month end, the year end, making sure all the reporting is done so the team could focus on the actual projects that needed to be completed. And basically as an interim solution, kind of contract based where, it's a finite period. But they're able
rolling. And the great thing about these contracts is it's, especially the mid-level ones, and senior, it is a try before you buy. There is obviously scope to make the person permanent. You get a bit more comfort that if they're right, if they're not right. So, the final example was a really good one for mid-level hirings. And look, it did take a little bit longer because some of the talent, we had to get them visas and everything. And unfortunately, it is with the gods sometimes, as Graham unfortunately had to find out. But for people who anticipate that there's projects coming up next year or in the summer, that you're going to need extra hands, the key area here was the senior finance team within that organization knew they were lacking in their business as usual operations, and relatively all straightforward ones, but they need to be done. Now getting this extra resource in, they know they'll take care of all that while they can focus on the project work. And I think as well, this is a really important point to talk about, is that we actually use a fractional CFO solution. We had a client who engaged with a recruitment business where they engaged with a recruitment CFO. So obviously the feedback was very positive, fractional guy. So obviously it made sense for us to actually look at it. And I can tell you guys firsthand, we're obviously a founder business, whatever you want to call it. But I've been eye-opened, or if that's even the word. But
so under the hood.
He's went under the bonnet. And, we've been running the business for nearly 5 years and we've never had any expert support. I'm a qualified accountant, but by my own admission, a terrible one. The stuff that he's found in the first 2 weeks have been very good. Well, not very good, but basically we're getting more streamlined, more professional. And, at the moment we're only engaging twice a week. Maybe it might go down to one, but the solution we've got is that the guy we've engaged, he's going to come in for 5 or 6 days. He's going to completely assess our whole business. And then he's going to give me a report and say, these are the things which I think you need to improve or streamline. For me personally, and this is why I really want to promote, the case study we have is actually Alchemy. That, we have this guy in, and the value we're getting from him for 4 or 5 days a week is a lot better than we would have got from a very junior finance professional who'd be working with us every day. So again, if anyone wants to talk to me or reach out to, understand a bit more about the experience we've had with, this individual, then by all means, please reach out. But what we're trying to create, and we're going to be launching it. Well, Graham's going to be launching it in the next 4 weeks.
Yes.
Hopefully, yeah.
I'll go into plan.
What we're trying to create, which I believe is actually different and unique in this space, is that we're creating a platform where we're going to have all our fractional consultants all on the platform. It will be anonymous. You will have their bios, their nationality, male, female, all that stuff will be there, but we won't have their names there. And you'll be able to sort of treat it a bit like an e-commerce website where you can choose, industry experience, years of experience. You can inquire, then we can check their availability. And, the margin we're offering is an incredibly fair rate versus some of the numbers that I've sort of heard second wind in the market. But what we're trying to create is a platform where you have experts in industries. I can actually stand by this because we actually have a recruitment CFO who's working with us, and the value he's bringing to my business is great. While if we had an oil and gas CFO advising us, the value would not be the same.
Yeah.
And I can argue that with anyone who wants to argue that with me, because I've experienced firsthand his knowledge of the industry. Everything is incredible. Because what we're seeing, and this mightn't go down too well with some fractional CFOs or fractional professionals, is that a lot of guys are trying to be a jack of all trades but a master of none. And where the real value to any SME is having an actual industry expert in oil and gas. They might have all the contacts in the banks or, little things like this, which you're not going to get from other people. So what we're trying to create is we're trying to get people on it who are industry experts. It's not going to cost them anything. It won't cost you a penny. And I think that's where the real value add is going to be for potential clients.
Yeah, 100%.
And you've got a lot of people to
a lot of people. But it's good in a way. And especially, for both sides, it's a case if you're a candidate who's already in the fractional market, it's free. Obviously, it'd be anonymous, but like it's a free way to.
We have a person who's been J&J, Johnson & Johnson for 25 years. This person's going to be on the platform for any SME or even mid-level company. The experience, the knowledge they have. The biggest thing out here is transformation at the moment, and we're going to have transformation specialists as well on it. But the story of Dubai and Abu Dhabi, I guess, or UAE is everything looks pretty on the outside. When you open up the door and go into the realities of the company, and this is Alchemy included, massively in this, it's a mess. And I'll openly say that's my disclaimer. Disclaimer, it is me driving that. But because I guess these small businesses like us or other, like it's all about revenue. And the finance function, everything gets left behind. And people in finance can resonate with that because that's the most common thing I hear, which companies, when they're flying, going through the gears, revenue flying, growth, the finance function doesn't grow with that. So yeah, we're going to provide these solutions, and I think it's very exciting times. We're going to have ERP specialists, implementation people. That's another big thing, because the big difference now in this market is people are staying. It's not as transient as it once was. Finance people are staying in the jobs provided they can. There's a lot of restructuring happening. It's a very challenging space, but quite keen just to touch on, because this will be more for people who are listening who are a CFO or running a business that want to hire someone. They have quotas hit, they wanted to go with third party. There's always been manpower suppliers here. So can you just talk us through, I'm in a company, I want to hire 3 people, but I don't want them to be on my books.
Yep. What we can offer is, as you said, we now have our own manpower license. So I know there is other businesses out there who use a third party, whereas we're actually doing this in-house. So what we can offer is, depending on their current visa, depending on what they actually need, we can supply visas. We can supply work permits. We also supply payroll, and we all do it in-house. So timeline-wise, as I said, depends. Work permit, if all they need, should take 48 to 72 hours, depending on the gods. And then visas up to 3 weeks normally. But we can supply everything. So we will outsource them as, consultants to your business. So you don't have anything to do. Don't have to worry about WPS. Don't have to worry about end of service. You don't have to worry about any of that. That would all be sorted from Alchemy Fractional side.
So for most, it's very much like anyone in the UK or more mature markets where contracting is a lot more common. It's very similar to the UK where, all you would is get an invoice from us at the end of the month, pay that invoice. It's just one fee, one number, and that covers everything. Obviously the margin, which again is very fair. Your visa, medical, everything is covered. So all you need to do is just pay your invoice. We take care of all the stuff that you don't want to take care of. Exactly. Or maybe due to quotas, you can't take care of. Yes. So again, this is it's been there, but I just don't think people are aware of it. So we found anyway.
And it's flexible to any needs really within reason. Like, if you want someone, I said project based or day to day, it can be tailored around exactly what you want. And I suppose we're open to hearing different scenarios, because every scenario so far has been different.
Yeah, and of course you can increase the contracts. We can find other people. As I said, we're still learning. Like, don't get me wrong, we're not sat here saying we know this inside out. We don't. We're learning as we go along, but that's the beauty of it. And so far, it's been pretty fruitful without even a strong launch. Yeah. So how's it been? How's the demand been? Like, as I said, we've talked through a few examples. Where do you see this going?
Yeah. So far, as you said, it's been kind of a soft, hard launch. But even so far, like, I think demand is there for inquiries from clients and also senior finance professionals and mid-level. The demand is there. It's just a case of making sure that sometimes the alignment with expectations versus reality maybe is not there for both salary expectations on candidate side as well as clients looking for someone within a budget. So things of demand is there. I think that given scenarios where depending on the industry, people go through ups and downs. If they have a busy period, you said if they have a lull period, the demand is there. We've had a lot of interest from SMEs and also from larger businesses to inquire about this, how it will operate. So I think in the future for UAE, I see a lot of businesses opting for this, for these options.
And one thing just to flag as well, like this isn't just for finance, tax and treasury. And I actually think there's a lot of value. Like if we talk to tax companies that don't want to, they feel they don't have enough work to have a permanent tax hire, get someone. We've had one tax transfer pricing manager deployed for 3 or 4 months for the company. So if there's periods where you just want this person sat beside you for 2 or 3 months to talk through things, that's available. So, if you need a tax person, and we have a good book of people, mid to senior level people that can come in. And then Treasury's probably been the biggest. It's come out of nowhere this year, whatever's happening. Obviously, people are a lot more worried about
cash
because the demand for Treasury has gone up the roof. So if you need Treasury assistance, again, 1 day a week, 2 days a week, even for a 2-month, 3-month period, we have these people as well. So all backgrounds, all different price points, all different levels of experience, different industries. So I think we're there. But I think closing as well, that's great, us giving our sort of elevator pitch on everything. But if we look at it for people who are listening who are actually working as fractional professionals, you're speaking to people. And what has been the challenges these guys are having in this market?
One of the main critiques from what I've seen from speaking to people who are working fractionally is they have a lot of interest. They do a lot of work to, I suppose, get in front of people, lead chasing, and then turning that into monetization or actually getting the work on seems to be the most difficult part, where they explain it, they do the work, they pitch themselves, and then it's a case of turning that into something that's actually tangible for both the client and the candidate. So, I think that's number one feedback.
It's going to finance people realize what it's like to be in recruitment now.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds very like recruitment.
And I think, even from the candidate side is marketing themselves. They're in, obviously for us, it's a great opportunity for fractional people to come to us because I suppose we're known as...
We're trying to be an intermediary. I think the big thing for people is, and this is a big feedback I've had from people who are working in the fractional space, is that when they're on it, they're consumed.
Yeah.
And they've no pipeline. So, what we're trying to offer these people is that we will try and create the next role for you.
Yep.
Because if you're on a project for 3 months, 2 months, or 3 or 4 days a week, the reality is the biggest complaint they will say is 2 days is actually 3 days. 3 days is 4 days.
Yes.
And it's hard then to monetize that, because then it's like, well, do I push so much that the client is like, I don't want to work with you anymore? So what we're trying to ask or provide for these people is that, we're on the same team. We're going to market it. We're going to get you on a platform. And when you say, look, I've nothing coming up for May, June, then let's see if we can line something up for you. And everything will be very transparent. You'll know exactly the rates, everything like that. So I think that's a big thing, because finance guys, they're not marketing guys. And I mean that with respect. People will think that we're an events company than a recruitment business, but we do little bits of recruitment every now and again.
Yep.
I think that's the future.
100%. UAE is always growing and evolving. And obviously you said UK, Europe, they already have this set up. And I think, it's coming over here now with these golden visas, with people having their own business set up. Like, I think it's going to be the future for these SMEs where, as you said, you don't have the budget for, for these senior tax, treasury, finance people. But this fractional option will be a way to, I suppose, help both candidates and clients.
We're going to talk about quick fire now. We're going to catch you off guard, hopefully.
Yes.
So fractional recruitment in one word.
Flexibility.
What's the biggest misconception about fractional recruitment?
What it actually is.
Good. In one sentence, what does a fractional recruiter actually solve for a business?
Quick, needed recruitment.
You're going well here, kid. And then also, we've something now for the listeners as well. So there'll be a few tears now shed with the female community here in Dubai. Also, you share the news, you got engaged there.
I got engaged, yeah.
Got engaged,
yeah.
So you're off the shelf now.
I'm off the shelf, off the market.
Gone.
Yeah. I'm in a full-time role.
Just get making your money, but congrats on that now.
Thank you.
And then that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thanks for spending your time with us and being part of the Alchemy Uncensored community. And of course, a big thank you to Alaan for supporting this season and helping us bring these conversations to life. We'll be back soon with more insights and more voices from across the region. Thank you very much, Graham.
Thank you, Conor. Thank you, Alaan.
Thank you, Alaan.